Make the ground shake.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, Gamer K. There we go. And it's time for another DLC review. Now, keeping in tone with my Villain Month theme, I will be going over a DLC from one of my favorite game series to deal with one of the most notorious and most unsolved serial killer in pretty much ever. London's Whitechapel murders, caused by the one and only, the legend, Jack the Ripper. And with my shirt, Assassin's Creed Syndicate decided to take on the challenge of interpreting one of London's most grim murder mysteries into the Assassin's Creed lore. Do they succeed? Well, let's start ripping this DLC up a new one. This is Gamer K's DLC review. The Jack the Ripper DLC started off, it came out in December 2015. So almost around Christmas time, which, all honesty, I think October would have made more sense to release it because it is the autumn of fear. I think that's what it was called, or the autumn of something. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the game does take a very big leap of going 20 years after the events of the game. So Jacob and Evie are a little bit older. A bunch of things have happened throughout that time. And I was honestly intrigued. And I got the DLC this year as opposed to 5 years ago when it came out. I was bored. It was during this BS of a time. And I replayed Assassin's Creed games just to have a little something to do in the beginning. And the story is okay at best. I mean, the DLC is only, if you count up the story mostly, it's only a 3-hour story. And for a DLC series on, honestly, one of the good Assassin's Creed games, at least in my opinion, it's okay. 3 hours. And for completionists who want to do all the stories correctly with all the little additional intrigues, like to do things the correct way in order to get 100%, and also to get all the trophies, all the collectibles, all that good stuff, it will take you about 8 hours to complete it all. And so the story starts where we get a little bit of background about the Jack the Ripper murders in the Whitechapel area. For a lot of you who know, Jack the Ripper mostly killed, I don't like using this certain words, so I'm just going to say women in red, because that's basically what they were called back then. Brothel workers and women who walked the streets. And yeah, it was a good dozen murders, and Jack the Ripper was never ever caught. And has constantly been a focal point of a good number of episodes of certain TV shows, from Bones and to a bunch of others where they interpret Jack the Ripper. The story, we kind of get a little bit of a twist where Jacob is hunting down Jack the Ripper, and for somehow we think that he knows him. And there are a good number of points where we play as Jack, and I'll get to those in a bit. So, after Jacob's disappearance, Evie comes from India, and all honesty, I enjoy playing as Evie a little bit more than Jacob, mostly with the stealth stuff. But in this option, we don't get a choice. I like how they because I think a lot of players do that. When it's a stealth-based stuff, we always go for Evie. If it's more fisticuffs, we always go for Jacob. So the game kind of eliminates that completely, our choice, which I kind of like. So we kind of find out more about what's been going on in London all these years while Jacob's been continuing his role with lead the assassins with the Rooks. And we find out that the Rooks have pretty much been disbanded into Jack's lieutenants, his twisted followers. And it's kind of bizarre hearing the assassins recruits, well, the rooks kind of, going into this twisted and macabre working for this guy. I mean, throughout the story, you will find out the meaning behind it all and about Jack's origin in a way. I mean, this is a weird take on Jack the Ripper, and I've only seen certain bits when it comes to Jack the Ripper, such as the Sherlock Holmes game, Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. Did another different take. That's the best thing with Jack the Ripper. You can always do a bunch of different takes on it, but it has to be believable. And for a moment, this one, it does seem believable that this kind of thing could inspire a Jack the Ripper-ish character to become out of the Assassin's lore. So, some things that they do a little bit differently in this is that they get rid of the brass knuckles, they get rid of the dirk dagger, they get rid of the cane sword. We are instead introduced to the Kara, which Evie will have on her wrist on all times. They're ringed bracelets, a little bit like a chakram, but without the smoother bladed edge. It's still a blunt blade edge, which is why I never buy my girlfriend dangerous jewelry. It's because of this why I'm not going to do that. And then, also implementing, we do play as Jack in about 3 of the missions. The first one in the game, where we get to understand the fear mechanic that they induce. Basically, by Jack screeching or using the different weapons that he uses, he can scare opponents away, make them go away. It really works well when you're really crowded as Evie, and we get to use them as Evie later. And not only that, but we also have the brutality kill, where we kill an enemy and we just pick up their body and keep going, and all the enemies in the area will start, their fear meter will go up, and it will scare them away, leaving less for you to deal with. Which I gotta admit is beyond psychopathic, and I honestly think of Trevor Phillips a little bit in this regard, the overkill of it. But it works for Jack the Ripper, because he's a brutal psycho, so it works. And the story in it all, I mean, trying to find where Jacob's gone and the whole rendition of Jack's murders. Yeah, they kind of do a little too much with the assassin story and kind of try to intertwine it with Jack. And it gets a little clunky and a little, feels more like they put it in there to make it work than just having it feel like it could fit naturally. Like, all the prostitutes who were murdered were female assassin members, like infiltrating the prostitution stuff in order to get information. And Jack killing them, knowing who they are. Like, the whole backstory between Jack and Jacob, it feels a little forced. But everything else in the game, in the DLC, kind of makes up for it. So it kind of works. There are a total of 2 people to kill. We've got Lady Owens, who's the brothel worker, which, all honesty, I can't believe it takes us 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, Black Flag, Rogue, Unity. It takes us like 7-ish games before we actually have to kill a brothel worker. I mean, an owner. Really? I mean, even in the Renaissance, it took you long enough. And a despicable warden, well, kind of warden of a makeshift prison where Jack keeps all of his enemies and prey. I do like that they introduced 2 different kinds of, those unique kills that Assassin's Creed Syndicate gave us and did a lot better than Unity. For example, we can use the brothel madam's husband to kind of get us up to her for a little menage a trois, which is more like a menage kill her. And with the prison guy, we get this fun little thing where we trick the guy into walking into the hangman thing, bringing him up, and having us kill him like that. It's really beautiful how it's done. And I really enjoyed those unique kill opportunities. I don't think we'll be able to get more out of them in the next game, but you know what? I'll take what I can get. Going back to the weapons that we get, throughout the game, we will also find the 2 unique weapons that Jack uses and Evie will discover later on. Much being the fear bombs, which, all honesty, I kind of like it. I really, really, really enjoyed this. Having us throw the bombs, it exploding in this kind of fear cackling. Fear, like it makes me feel like Scarecrow from Arkham a little bit, using this fear bomb in order to scare the hell out of people. I'm sorry. It's fun just doing that alone. Yeah, it feels like Halloween in London. And then we have the spikes, which can be used to pin enemies to the ground and kind of make them shriek in fear and terror and drawing people closer. And it's just beautifully done. And also it works to attract other guards to you a little bit, not so quick, but so much that you can get away really, really quickly. Before, like, just to get a bigger crowd, because a good majority of the side objectives is to scare more than one person at a time, or to scare a multitude of people. And when you're going into the said buildings, it's better to get that done in the wide open areas. So, new utilization of fear in a video game for an assassin. I mean, they did do it, and Jack the Ripper definitely implements it. And I especially like when we play with Jack. I don't know why, but whenever we need to know what the objective is, it always comes up in scribbled words, like throughout on the screen. Like, it's not like it's an eagle vision or anything. It's just all over the place, like kill the doctor, get rid of the evidence, no witnesses, and all that stuff. And it's just spine chilling just hearing his voice. And also just the creepy thoughts and the creepy sounds that come, like, it's almost like it's in his head. And it just playing this psycho fictional, not fictional, being this historical character just makes you feel like more. Because I was worried we were just going to be attacking him. But we do get to play him in certain parts. And it's mostly after Evie's done her stuff, where we get rid of the evidence at the prison, we kill all the cops, we finally... we're Jack the Ripper, so obviously we're not going to leave people to find evidence. We open up the Lambeth Asylum to get revenge on the people who tormented Jack when he was a kid, and also release the psychos. Yeah, that part scared me to no end, because I have a problem with asylums, especially after Arkham, and I did not enjoy in the slightest. Holy crap. But yeah, playing as Jack the Ripper, you get savage, brutal gameplay as you're fighting enemies, and it just feels right. They didn't dumb it down in order to make it okay for everyone to play. They made sure that only the people who can stomach this can play the game. And I wouldn't say it's fun to do that, but kind of fun to be outside of the assassins and to have no moral compass in this kind of game. In this DLC, it's done pretty well. So, and in the game, we get 10 story missions, 3 of which, like I said, we play as Jack. So, honestly, being so few of story missions, I don't mind the amount that they decided on. It's more than the Benedict Arnold DLC I had to play years ago, and that one sucked. But the 10 main missions, we go to a bunch of different places. We go to the Madam's giant ass mansion, which, all honesty, I really enjoyed how we went out of London for that, out of the main area for that. We went to this bizarre shipwrecked town where the makeshift prison was. It really added a little bit extra detail and extra areas to play in. And I really enjoyed it. Also, there's collectible chests in every single location for you to find. So going back and doing all this in order to get your perfect achievement thing, that's good too. Now, we kind of get only, I think, 2 areas in the City of London. We get the City of London, and we get the Whitechapel District. And we also get the Lambeth Asylum, and I think we also get the Lambeth area a little bit. I'm not 100% sure on that because it's been a while. I mean, it's in my notes, but, I mean, you know, who writes down notes that often, you know? So, overall, the side missions are where you kind of get a little bit more meat in this DLC. I mean, I like where they put a good majority of side missions and story missions in each DLC, because it doesn't make you feel like you have to go through the entire story at once. You can level up by doing extra stuff, and then upgrading your gear, because you know, in Assassin's Creed, the more you upgrade, the bigger your chances are of fighting the big bad at the end, or tackling or leveling up your abilities in order to get extra to get extra momentum throughout each mission. And the side missions, yeah, they're bringing back some of the classics from the actual game, such as bounties, cargo lifts, fight clubs, where you can also use the scare tactic weapons, Jack the Ripper's lieutenants, and because there's only 2 areas, they do a good majority in each little section of the location, which is really well done. And then I add the new ones like Lost Women, where we have to save brothel workers from being kidnapped and everything because they know too much. Ripper letters, where we have to find people who are taking literature from Jack the Ripper, posting it in the newspaper, and we just gotta track them down to see if they are really Jack the Ripper or if they're just working with him. We also have Carriage of Justice, which is also, again, another, we have to bring people who are newspaper people, tycoons who are almost working with Jack the Ripper out of fear, and we have to get them back to the police station without an angry mob getting on their asses. And it's kind of fun. The lieutenants are obviously killing the lieutenants, and using the fear to have them kill their own people is a beautiful way to do it. I'm just gonna say that right now. And then we have the 2 other new ones that I really enjoy. Brothel attacks, which are basically defending the brothel against the Jack the Ripper's goons. And we actually do get to be inside the brothel and get to see how, honestly, it's really beautifully detailed, even though we are only here for a short amount of while. It's really beautifully done, and I hope we get a lot of detail the buildings in the next game, like I said. And we also have Walk of Shame, where we have to get people who went to the brothels and shame them in front of people, so they won't talk negative and they won't fight back. Yeah, I don't really get that one too. It's pretty much just grabbing the person and bringing them in front of a crowd of people in order to shame them, and that's pretty much it. It's not the best. So that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 side missions. So with 9 side missions and 10 main missions, it kind of fills it a little bit where the main missions kind of lack a little in some regard. And the final face-off in the asylum basement, I'm gonna tell you, if you don't like asylums, if you don't like a bunch of psychos being around you, if you don't like basements, then this is gonna scare the living shit out of you. I'm telling you that right now. So overall, my enjoyment of the Jack the Ripper DLC was pretty well done. The DLC gave a pretty fun story about the origins of Jack the Ripper in the assassin lore, like I said. It kind of has a little couple hiccups where it feels like they just did it just to implement the assassins into it and didn't really focus more. I mean, the reasoning, I'm not going to give why. I mean, that's for you guys to figure out. If you guys decide to play this, and since it's over 5 years old, the DLC is probably really cheap right now for those of you who have Assassin's Creed Syndicate and want something kind of cool to play this October, or in any regard, because the DLC is fun. It's one of the most fun DLCs I played in Assassin's Creed in a good long while. And it's not 3 episodes where you have to wait. It's one full DLC. And I'm pretty sure, again, like I said, pretty sure the price has gone down a good bit. Like maybe $3, $4 for this DLC, or $10 if, I don't know, if they're trying to make a little bit more money off of that. But it's a DLC that is definitely one it's one to see in order, it's, sorry if I'm babbling. It's one that you have to experience yourself. Like, you can watch it online, but it's just not the same, because you can watch someone play a game, but if you don't play it yourself, you don't get the full experience. So, with the multitude of side missions that are, some of them are from the original game, and most of them are really creatively done for the sake of the story and the time. Playing as both Jack and Evie kind of makes it a little bit better, but it really would have been better if they did half and half of the missions, half as Jack and half as Evie, and not most of it being for Evie. But it does give the story a bit of mystery and a bit of flair a little bit. So with all that being said, there are a couple things I would like to change about it, like having a little bit more missions as Jack, or having the story be more, less cliche a little bit. But overall, it's a fun DLC, and Gamer K's final verdict for the Jack the Ripper DLC is a slightly dull, but still able to tear, 7 out of 10. Like I said, if there was a little bit more with Jack and less more with the assassins, I could have given this one an 8. But as far as DLCs goes, it's one of my favorites. Personal favorites, actually. So if you don't pick it up, that's okay. If you're interested, take a look. It's a DLC that will definitely have you ripping for another good time. And that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and tune in next week, where for the week of Halloween, what should I do for this week? Let's scare the living heck out of ya. Join me next week, ladies and gentlemen, where fear is on the menu. This is Gamer K, logging out.